Thank you, students, for signing up today for our next career speaker. As you guys have heard on announcements, we have Bob Kressig, Mr. Kressig here, to talk about his career path to the Iowa House, but also just how he came to be in the position he's in, and maybe some of the careers that led to that, because I'm guessing you probably just started at the Iowa House.
Yeah, no, I did.
Yeah, but we want questions. This is a discussion, kind of informal, just fun time for you guys to learn more about this career specifically. So I'll have him start and make sure to ask questions.
Right, well, thanks for coming today and having me here. I've always enjoyed having the opportunity to talk to young people. It's interesting to hear your perspective on things, and so just a little bit about me. I've been in office for 12 years. I actually have House District 59, which is right here in this area. And my wife Liz, you probably know her, she works here at P. Liz Kressig. Mrs. Kressig, I think that's the word.
I know her. She's in my IT class.
Yeah, and so she's worked here. I worked at John Deere for 31 years. Great company, and had a lot of opportunities given to me through that company, through education and just learning experiences. And retired, and I was somewhat involved. I'm on the board at Veridian Credit Union. You've heard of that? Okay. And you know, there's policies that government imposes that have positive or negative impacts on financials. And so I'm on the board, and it was always talked about having somebody at an elected position at the state or federal level that would be able to help with issues impacting credit unions. So that was mentioned to me, and then I was involved with city government, and I was on the Planning and Zoning Commission. I did that for a few years, and all this stuff kind of come together, and it was suggested that I run for the Iowa House. And so, you know, in order to make something like that happen, what do you think is probably one of the most key aspects of running for a public office? Yeah.
Publicity?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Public speaking.
Yeah, I think, you know, over the years I've probably gotten a little better at that. What else do you think? Yes?
You're like telling people about your plan, kind of what he said, publicity, making sure you have enough money to at least keep yourself running.
Yeah, I think, yeah, those are key areas, having financial aid and being able to share what you want to work on. And some of those key areas that I have always fought for is education. You know, whether it's the pre-K through 12 and then the post-secondary level at like UNI or the other schools. Those are vital, and I know you guys are all interested in that. But one of the key aspects of that is having supporters who believe in you. And that's true whether you're in this profession, you know, your teachers, they need people that believe in them too. So having that support mechanism in there was really key. And I would say over the years, this is my 6th term, so I've probably knocked on 50,000 doors. You know what I'm saying? Like, I go up to a house and knock on the door and say, I'm Bob Kressig and I'm running for the Iowa legislature and just wanted to let you know, and you have any questions? So can you imagine doing that? Walking up to somebody's door that you've probably never ever met before? What would you think of that?
It's like Halloween.
It's like Halloween. Only they don't give you candy, Claire.
It's a little different.
They don't give out candy.
Yeah.
They
Right.
give out votes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. So the voting process, yes.
I did that like a little bit, just raking leaves for some spare money, and I know that that's pretty hard. So
Yeah.
50,000, that's
Yeah.
impressive. Go you.
Yep. Well, and if there's a door in Cedar Falls, it's not safe from me. I'll probably knock on it. That's kind of, then I guess I'm just kind of going through some of the questions you sent me, so
Yeah.
that's what I'm going to function on.
That's great.
So that's kind of how I became. I've had a lot of good support from a lot of people, that really believe in my abilities to represent them at the state level. And so I think that's key, and that would be true in another career, or in public service like this is, as an elected official. You know, what kind of interest in education? I had the opportunity when I was at Deere, I was in their training department. And so I was educating adults, which probably is the same challenges as educating you guys. And I did that, and I went to UNI and got my post-secondary teaching certificate to teach at that level. And so, you know, those things, I've been actively engaged in the community.
Oh, sorry.
On a lot of.
Nice to meet you.
Hey, you bet. I would say that one of the things that it becomes somewhat overwhelming at times, just on an average day, like when we're in session, I mean, how many emails do you get a day, do you think? How many?
Probably 50 a day.
50?
I have a lot of things I'm signed up for, so
you
I
get-
probably get 40, 50
I get
emails a day.
Important emails from people I care about, probably like 2.
2, okay.
Yeah, probably since we do the news thing, probably like 5-ish,
5.
maybe on a big day.
I usually get like 1 or 2.
1 or
because
2.
I
Yeah, well-
disabled Schoology emails.
Yeah. So when we're in session, and throughout the year, you know, when we're in session in particular, I might get, just on one issue, 200 emails. Just one issue. And so it's, that's kind of a, you know, you have to be able to deal with that. In other words, you respond to those people. I mean, that's the key part in this process. And I think that was one of the frustrations I had with the person that was in office. I would reach out and never hear back. And so that's one of my, I focus on. If I get an email from somebody, now if they're from Michigan or somewhere, I probably don't pay a whole lot of attention to it. But if you're in Cedar Falls and I represent you and you send me an email, I will respond in some way. Yes.
One of the things that you said is, you know, when you're in session, they email you about specific issues. And you said one of the important things is to have people rooting for you because they want you to represent you. Or because they want you to represent them. What are some of those like key issues that you feel like people want you to represent them the most? If that makes sense.
Well, I think, you know, one of the things that I have, you know, of course, education is a key one, but making sure young people like you are safe. I think that's been one of my key functions that I've been down. I serve on public safety, and you know, it's interesting, you know, things like trafficking, it's an awful thing, and we as a society are responsible for making sure that you're safe. And that's an abuse, physical and, you know, other forms of abuse. Those are areas that I have fought for. I've also fought for this ability for families to have access to the medical cannabis.
Oh, yeah.
That it has proven that it does make a difference, in particular getting people off all these prescription drugs. And so, yeah, I think those are key. And I would say the environment. How many in this room think that the environment is important, that we protect it? Yeah, so I think it's a key area. I think one of the areas is water quality, that I've been engaged in that. And there's so many things we can do as a state to make and improve our water quality. I don't know if you read that just recently in Waterloo. They had a high nitrate boost, and nitrates can cause issues, particularly in infants, if they, you know, consume that water like that. So, you know, those are key areas. Then there's a bunch of, I mean, there's a lot of issues that we deal with. I've always said this when I talk to people, when you talk about budgeting, that's another area that we have to focus on. But at the state level, we do 3 big pieces when it comes to budgeting. We educate, we medicate, and we incarcerate. And those 3 things there are about 90% of the state budget. So all those other things like the environment and those things are you know, down the list a little ways.
Yeah.
But it's critical. I would, you know, that's kind of some reflections that I had. But I would say, here's some advice that I'd give you today. One of the things that, as a young person growing up, my parents made sure that voting was something that I did. And I'm going to tell you what, if, you know, when I turned 18, I was eligible to vote, that was the first thing my dad asked me, did you vote today? So I think, you know, today we're celebrating Veterans Day. Well, there are countries today in this world that aren't allowed the opportunity to vote. So, you know, it's a decision, it's a right, it's something that you can decide, but I think voting is something that you need to make sure that you do, you become, yes?
My grandma says that a lot of people complain about like the way things are about like leaders like the president, but that they didn't vote, so they don't really have anything to complain about because they didn't state their opinion and vote for the person that they thought was
Right.
I'm just saying about the comment on public safety. What is your own opinion about how things are going, how events are going in California? Like armed escorts of children just walking to school every day, and high possibilities of something very bad happening.
Well, there is violence that occurs. You know, if you look at Iowa, we're in a pretty safe state, so we don't necessarily see a lot of that. But weapons, illegal weapons, I know right now you can't have a weapon in the school. So I think there are some safety measures that we need to continue and focus on with regard to that. Now, if there's something at the state and federal level that isn't being done to deal with that, then shame on us. We need to make sure that you're safe when you're going to school. And I've got grandchildren in California that, you know, I want to make sure that they're safe when they go to school. Yes?
What are your thoughts on government spending? As I was watching the debate last night, that was a big topic. As I can't remember, was it
Government
in the
spending,
yeah, the
debt, like
debt, yeah,
$6
the
trillion
debt that we're in, how that number is at basically a peak it's ever been at, and it's still growing. What are your thoughts that we can do
there's
to cut that
actually
down?
been some efforts currently to reduce the debt, and I think that's a key thing. You need to really study the debt, find out exactly what's going on, because I can just tell you, you can watch and listen to somebody and say that the debt is growing, or you can, and so I think that it's critical to get the facts. You know, facts are a stubborn thing. They really are. So I think now debt in Iowa, we have what's called, we have the Iowa Constitution. The Iowa Constitution requires that the legislature cannot spend more than they take in. So we have a balanced budget. We've got about $1 billion in reserves total. So at the federal level, there has been some really, I'll just tell you one of them is the wars that we've been in. That is a huge expense for us to do that. So I think some critical thinking needs to do. I also know that people employed paying their taxes and things, that's good. I also know that some folks in this country don't pay taxes, and that's also a huge barrier. So we need to get people back working. We need to be careful about going to every war, which we have practiced that. You know, the Vietnam War was a few years ago, but in retrospect, we probably should have never been in there, or maybe provided some support or aid. But then we got the Middle East with a lot of the issues over there, and we've got the Al-Qaeda and those groups. We have to protect our country, but I don't know if we need to go to war and have a battle. Is that kind
Yeah.
of, okay.
Do you have any specific educational steps you would recommend to someone who's interested in politics?
Well, I think, I'd go into college is probably the right direction. You know, they have public policy. UNI has a great program here that helps educate. But, you know, the college part is important. But I also think that one of the key educational thing is if you're going to do this job, you need to be engaged in the community. You have to know what's going on. And I always have said this, until now, if I were to put your shoes on, which I probably can't, but if I put your shoes on, that would give me a different perspective, right? You know what, if you put my shoes on, you would have a completely different perspective. And those are key areas that need to occur. We need to make sure that issues that impact Iowans as a whole, not just a social group, you know, I think that's the wrong direction in my perspective with regard to that. So, you know, I think the other thing, this is your real opportunity in life right here, right now, is to continue to work hard in school and do well. And it truly does make a difference down the road. And you know, become involved in your community. How many of you have heard of the food bank? Yeah, I mean, I've worked down there, and it's interesting that, you know, there are people in need in this community that have, you know, are struggling, whether they lost their job, who knows, it's kind of like putting their shoes on for a day. It kind of gives you, and, you know, I guess the one, believe in yourself and all that you are. I think that's a key message for you to take away today. So believe in yourself and all that you are. And all that you are may be, I'm sure, your family, your friends, activities that you love to do. I just got to tell you this. One of the things I love doing is bicycling. And this year, I did a bicycle ride from Iowa City to Washington, D.C. About 1,200 miles, 7 states, 24 days, 22 cities.
Wow.
And I'm going to tell you, I met and talked to people from all over. It was pretty cool. I enjoyed it. So, you know, that's kind of what I like doing. I love riding a bike. And I'm sure you guys probably do too. But how many of you ever thought of riding to Washington, D.C.? No. I thought I'd see one. Come on, just stick.
I'll do it.
Cedric, sure, Cedric.
I like riding long distance. I can do that.
But neat that you infuse two passions, right? Like people, meeting people, because you like meeting people and interacting, but then also biking. So cool that you infused both of those together.
Yeah, I really do. It's a fun activity. Yeah. So. Any questions? Yes.
Now with the recent debates going on, I'm sure we've all been watching those. Who are you thinking that, you know, who are you rooting for of the candidates?
You know, I think I have come out and endorsed a candidate, but I really don't see the value in that. But what I am saying to people is, what's impressive to me is that you guys are paying attention to this.
I watch every single one.
Yeah.
That's so impressive to me. It's just like, and I had a guy, this is no kidding, I go to the YMCA. I'm an avid exerciser. I love exercising. And I went to the Y the other day, and this guy said to the other guys, well, did you vote today? No. I vote, and all they do is raise my taxes. And so the other guy says, well, Bob, what do you think of that? And I says, you know, I think it's a shame. Just a shame. Because my dad, who's not alive anymore, he fought in a war, in World War II, you know. to keep us free and have that ability to vote. And I think it's very critical for us. Yes?
Do you think that because of the bias, it's harder for women to obtain an office or a state office or just overall? Like,
Yeah, I think that's changed significantly. There's actually a group, and you can look it up, 50-50 by 2020. And what they're trying to do is get the House, or like just say in the House there's 100 members, that would say 50 women and 50 men. And I would share, as a young kid, my dad went blind. And so when he lost his sight, my dad was our breadwinner. He was the only one working, and Mom was home with 3 kids and a mortgage. And my mother was a huge influence in my life. And so I have utmost respect and all that for women, and I've served with them in the legislature, and so. Yes?
Have your eyes been open to any topics you've been previously unaware of?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Great question.
Yes, I think that's really, I don't go in there with a single vision. In other words, I don't have an agenda, Bob Kressig's agenda. I have, based on what I've talked to and heard from people, is this is important to us. And our district, my district, is education. That's a key element in this district. Now, it isn't always true across the entire state, so, yes, sir.
Do you think that the wages from, I believe it's $7.50 now, should be raised, but like if they are raised, then humans would be cheaper than a machine to put in, and then less jobs would be available because businesses would only be able to pay out so much?
I do. I know that in '07 I voted for a minimum wage increase, and now it's at $7.25 an hour. And there are those that are out there asking for $15 an hour. That's a huge jump. My parents owned a small business in Waterloo for 30 plus years, a restaurant. So, I get kind of that aspect of it. But I also know that $7.25, if you're a mother with a child, it just, a single mother. I should have shared that. But that's a huge struggle. And and then on the other side, if they're paying minimum wage and then this wage disparity just continues to grow, Henry Ford, do you remember him? Mm-hmm. He actually was one of the leaders on this issue years back that said when he created this factory setting, he found out that because of the wages, they could not afford to buy his cars. So he created a model that was affordable to them, and he improved their salaries and wages. So, I think today's politics is beginning to forget what we're made of as a country. We're getting all these, I don't know, there's some people out there that I just look at and say, how did you get elected?
Yeah.
Nothing new with that.
Nothing.
I have a few people in mind
Yeah.
who should be running.
You what?
I have a few people in mind or a person in mind who shouldn't be running for president.
Yeah, I think we've all got one common.
Yeah, I'm all the same person.
I just tell you, I am really impressed. I feel like I'm talking to a whole bunch of
Yes.
adults here.
Well,
Because it's very impressive. If you ever want to come to the Capitol, a trip, I would offer that you come. We start in January, and we'll show you around up there.
Yeah, we'd hope to visit the Hill Day in early February,
Yeah.
so
We actually,
Yeah.
in 5th grade,
We did go.
to go.
That was a lot of fun.
Hey, could we do a picture?
Yes, that'd be great. You guys, can we give Mr. Kressig?
Yes, thank
Yeah, thank you so much.